In just 37 seconds, one of Hollywood's biggest icons completely destroyed a talk show host on live television. A simple question about politics turned into an all-out war of words, with accusations flying, voices raised, and ultimately, one of the most dramatic walkouts ever captured on camera. Before we dive into this explosive confrontation, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the moments that celebrities try to bury. Hit that subscribe button now because you won't want to miss what happens next. Last night's episode of The Megyn Kelly Show was supposed to be about Cher's legendary music career and her thoughts on the entertainment industry. Instead, it became a battleground that left the studio audience gasping and producers scrambling. What started as a conversation quickly spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable moments in talk show history. Cher walked onto the set looking absolutely stunning in a black leather jacket and jeans, her signature long dark hair flowing as she waved to the cheering audience. Megyn Kelly stood up from behind her desk, extending a hand with a big smile plastered across her face. The two women shook hands, and Cher settled into the guest chair, crossing her legs and looking relaxed. "Welcome to the show, Cher. It's so great to have you here," Megyn said, her voice smooth and professional. "Thanks for having me," Cher replied, her distinctive voice filling the studio. The first few minutes seemed normal enough. They talked about Cher's latest projects, her incredible career spanning over 6 decades, and her status as a pop culture icon. Cher laughed and told stories about her early days in the music industry, and the audience was eating it up. But you could sense something brewing beneath the surface. Megyn's smile seemed a little too tight, her questions a little too pointed. "So, Cher, you've been very vocal on social media about politics," Megyn said, leaning forward slightly. "Some people say celebrities should just stick to entertaining. What do you say to that?" Cher's expression shifted slightly. Her eyes narrowed just a fraction. "Well, Megyn, I say that's ridiculous. We're citizens too. We have a right to speak our minds just like everyone else." "Of course you do," Megyn responded quickly. "But don't you think your platform gives you an unfair advantage? You have millions of followers who hang on your every word, and you have a television show that reaches millions of people?" Cher shot back. "So by that logic, shouldn't you stay quiet too?" A few people in the audience laughed nervously. Megyn's smile faltered for just a second before she recovered. "That's different. I'm a journalist. It's my job to discuss these things. And I'm an American citizen," Cher said firmly. "It's my right to discuss these things." Megyn shuffled some papers on her desk, clearly trying to regain control of the conversation. "Let's talk about something you tweeted last month. You called certain politicians dangerous and threats to democracy. Don't you think that's a bit extreme?" Cher sat up straighter in her chair. "No, I don't think it's extreme at all. I think it's the truth. When you see people trying to take away rights, trying to control women's bodies, trying to discriminate against people for who they love, yeah, I'm going to call that dangerous. But those are just different political opinions," Megyn countered. "Not everyone agrees with your perspective." "This isn't about opinions, Megyn," Cher said, her voice getting stronger. "This is about human rights. There's a difference between disagreeing about tax policy and disagreeing about whether people deserve basic human dignity." The tension in the studio was getting thicker. You could see audience members glancing at each other, unsure of what was happening. Megyn's face was starting to flush slightly, a red tinge creeping up her neck. "I think you're being a bit dramatic," Megyn said with a dismissive little laugh. "The country isn't falling apart just because people have different viewpoints than you." Cher's jaw clenched. "Dramatic? You want to talk about dramatic? How about the fact that women in some states can't get health care they need because a bunch of old men decided they know better? How about kids being kicked out of their homes for being gay? How about people being attacked for the color of their skin? Is that dramatic enough for you?" "Those are isolated incidents," Megyn said, waving her hand. "You're making it sound like we're living in some kind of dystopia." "Maybe you're not living in a dystopia because you're a wealthy white woman with a platform," Cher fired back. "But there are millions of people who are struggling, who are scared, who are being hurt. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening." The audience was dead silent now. A few people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Megyn's face was definitely red now, and her smile had completely disappeared. I resent that implication, Megyn said coldly. I've worked very hard to get where I am. I've faced my own challenges. I'm sure you have, Cher said. But that doesn't mean you understand what it's like for everyone else. You sit here in your nice studio with your nice paycheck, and you act like people are being overdramatic for being afraid. Megyn leaned back in her chair, her eyes flashing. You know what? I invited you here for a nice conversation about your career, and instead you're turning this into a political lecture. You're the one who brought up politics, Cher pointed out. I was perfectly happy to talk about music, but you wanted to go there, so here we are. I asked a simple question about your social media activity, Megyn said defensively. No, you asked a question designed to make me look like some out-of-touch celebrity who doesn't know what she's talking about, Cher said. I've been around long enough to know when someone's setting a trap. Megyn laughed, but there was no humor in it. A trap? Oh, please. You're being paranoid. Am I? Cher challenged. Because it seems like you invited me here specifically to argue with me, to try to make me look bad in front of your audience. That's not true, Megyn insisted. I treat all my guests with respect. Really? Because right now I'm not feeling very respected, Cher said. You've dismissed everything I've said, called me dramatic, and basically told me to shut up and sing. The atmosphere in the studio was electric now. This had gone way beyond a normal interview disagreement. This was a full-blown confrontation, and everyone could feel it. Megyn took a deep breath, clearly trying to compose herself. Look, Cher, I think we just have different perspectives on these issues. Can we agree to disagree and move on? No, actually, we can't, Cher said firmly. Because this isn't just about perspectives. You're using your platform to minimize real problems that real people are facing. And I'm not going to sit here and let you do that without calling it out. I am not minimizing anything, Megyn said, her voice rising slightly. I'm simply pointing out that not everyone shares your worldview. And I'm pointing out that some things aren't about worldviews, Cher shot back. They're about right and wrong. They're about treating people with decency and compassion. And if you can't understand that, then I don't know what to tell you. Megyn's hands were gripping the edge of her desk now. You know, this is exactly what's wrong with political discourse today. People like you think you have all the answers, and anyone who disagrees with you is somehow immoral. People like me? Cher repeated, her voice dangerous now. What exactly do you mean by that? I mean celebrities who think their opinions matter more than everyone else's, Megyn said. You live in a bubble, Cher. You have no idea what regular people think or feel. Cher let out a harsh laugh. Are you serious right now? I grew up poor, Megyn. My mom was 16 when she had me. I've been working since I was a teenager. I've struggled. I've been knocked down. I've had to fight for everything I have. Don't you dare tell me I don't know what regular people go through. That was decades ago, Megyn said dismissively. You've been rich and famous for most of your life. You've lost touch with reality. And what's your excuse? Cher demanded. You sit here in your ivory tower, judging everyone else, acting like you're some kind of moral authority. At least I use my voice to try to help people. What do you do besides stir up controversy and spread division? Megyn stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I will not be spoken to like this on my own show. This interview is over. Gladly, Cher said, standing up as well. I didn't want to be here in the first place. I should have known better than to come on a show hosted by someone who's more interested in starting fights than having actual conversations. Get out, Megyn said, pointing toward the exit. Just get out of my studio. Oh, don't worry, I'm leaving, Cher said, already starting to remove her microphone. I've wasted enough of my time here. The audience was stunned into silence. Some people had their hands over their mouths. Others were just staring with wide eyes. No one could believe what they were witnessing. You're incredibly rude, Megyn said, her voice shaking slightly with anger. And you're incredibly condescending, Cher replied, dropping her microphone on the chair. You invited me here to ambush me, to try to make me look bad. Well, congratulations. You've succeeded in making yourself look bad instead. How dare you? Megyn sputtered. I've been nothing but professional. Professional? Cher laughed. You've been hostile from the moment we started talking about anything real. You can't handle anyone challenging you or disagreeing with you. That's not professional. That's just insecure. Megyn's face was bright red now. "I want you off my stage. Now." I'm going, Cher said, grabbing her jacket. "Trust me, I can't get out of here fast enough." "Good riddance," Megyn muttered. Cher stopped and turned back to face her. "You know what your problem is, Megyn? You've forgotten what it means to have empathy. You've forgotten what it means to care about people who aren't exactly like you. And that's really sad." "I don't need a lecture from you about empathy," Megyn snapped. "Clearly you do," Cher said, "because you just spent the last 20 minutes attacking me for caring about other people. Think about that." With that, Cher turned and started walking off the stage. The audience didn't know what to do. A few people started clapping, but it was scattered and uncertain. Others just sat in shocked silence. "This is unbelievable," Megyn said to the audience, trying to salvage the situation. "I invite someone onto my show for a friendly conversation, and this is how they behave." But Cher heard that. She stopped at the edge of the stage and turned back one more time. "Friendly conversation? Is that what you call it? You attacked my character, dismissed my concerns, and told me to shut up. That's not friendly. That's hostile." "I did no such thing," Megyn protested. "Yes, you did," Cher said firmly. "And everyone here saw it. Everyone watching at home saw it. You can't gaslight your way out of this one." A few more people in the audience clapped at that. Megyn noticed and looked furious. "Security!" Megyn called out. "Can someone please escort this woman out of here?" "I don't need security," Cher said. "I'm leaving on my own. Unlike some people, I don't need to be forced to do the right thing." "The right thing would have been to have a civil conversation," Megyn said. "I tried to have a civil conversation," Cher replied. "But you weren't interested in that. You were interested in scoring political points and making me look bad. Well, it backfired, didn't it?" Megyn opened her mouth to respond, but Cher cut her off. "You know what? I'm done. I'm actually done this time. You can sit here and spin this however you want to your audience, but the truth is, you couldn't handle a real conversation with someone who disagrees with you. And that says everything anyone needs to know about you." "Get out!" Megyn shouted, losing her composure completely now. "I'm out," Cher said, "and I won't be coming back. Not to this show. Not to any show where the host is more interested in fighting than listening." With that final statement, Cher turned and walked off the stage for good. The camera caught her disappearing into the wings, her head held high, her stride confident. Behind her, Megyn stood at her desk, looking absolutely furious and completely flustered. She tried to say something to the audience, but her voice came out wrong, shaky and uncertain. We'll be right back after this commercial break," she finally managed to say. But the damage was done. The audience sat in stunned silence, processing what they had just witnessed. Some were whispering to each other. Others were pulling out their phones, no doubt already posting about what had just happened on social media. Backstage, Cher grabbed her purse from a production assistant and headed straight for the exit. Staff members tried to stop her, to apologize, to see if she was okay, but she brushed past all of them. She was done. Completely done. "That was insane," one audience member whispered to another. "I can't believe that just happened," someone else said. "Did Megyn really just kick Cher off her show?" another person asked. "More like Cher kicked herself off," their friend replied. "And honestly, good for her." Megyn was out of line. Back on stage, Megyn was trying to collect herself during the commercial break. Her producer rushed over to her, speaking in urgent, hushed tones. But Megyn just shook her head, looking shell-shocked and angry at the same time. "I can't believe she did that," Megyn said to her producer. "I can't believe she just walked off like that." "Maybe we pushed too hard," the producer suggested carefully. "I was asking legitimate questions," Megyn insisted. "She's the one who got defensive and aggressive." But even as she said it, there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. Deep down, she had to know how this looked. She had to know that the audience had seen what really happened, and it didn't look good for her. When the show came back from commercial, Megyn tried to address what had happened. She tried to spin it as Cher being unable to handle tough questions, as Cher being too sensitive, as Cher being unprofessional. But her words rang hollow. The audience had seen the whole thing. They knew what had really happened. And as Cher walked out of the building and into the cool night air, she felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had stood her ground. She had spoken her truth. She had refused to be bullied or silenced, and that felt good. She climbed into her waiting car and took a deep breath. Her phone was already blowing up with messages from friends, from her team, from people who had seen what happened. But she ignored it for now. She just wanted a moment of peace. As the car pulled away from the studio, Cher looked out the window at the city lights. She didn't regret what had happened. Not for a second. Sometimes you have to stand up for what you believe in, even if it means walking away. Especially if it means walking away. Back in the studio, Megyn finished her show, but the energy was completely off. The audience was subdued. The remaining segments felt flat and awkward. Everyone was still thinking about what had happened with Cher. Everyone was still processing the confrontation they had witnessed. As the show ended and the audience filed out, people were already talking about it, already forming opinions, already taking sides. Some supported Megyn, saying Cher had been too aggressive and should have been more respectful. But far more people supported Cher, saying she had every right to stand up for herself when she was being attacked. The incident spread across social media like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags were trending. Videos of the confrontation were being shared thousands of times. People were analyzing every word, every expression, every moment of the heated exchange. But through it all, one thing was clear. This was not a good look for Megyn Kelly. She had come across as condescending, dismissive, and hostile. She had tried to trap a guest and it had backfired spectacularly. And now everyone was talking about it. Cher, on the other hand, came across as strong, principled, and unwilling to back down. She had stood up for what she believed in, even when it would have been easier to just smile and nod. And people respected that. People admired that. The next morning, entertainment news shows were all covering the story. Clips of the confrontation were being played on repeat. Pundits were weighing in with their opinions. Everyone had something to say about what had happened on the Megyn Kelly show. But for Cher, it was just another day. She had been in the public eye for over 60 years. She had been through controversies before. She had weathered storms and come out stronger on the other side. This was no different. She woke up, had her coffee, and went about her day. She didn't issue an apology. She didn't walk back anything she had said. She stood by every word. Because she had meant every word. And as the days went on, public opinion solidified. The consensus was clear. Megyn Kelly had messed up. She had invited a beloved icon onto her show and then attacked her. She had been disrespectful and unprofessional, and she had paid the price in public opinion. As for Cher, she moved on. She had other things to do, other battles to fight, other causes to support. The incident with Megyn Kelly was just a blip on her radar, a moment in time, something that happened and then was over. But for those who watched it unfold, for those who witnessed the confrontation live or saw the clips afterward, it was a moment they wouldn't forget. It was a reminder that even in manufactured, controlled environments like talk shows, real emotions can break through, real conflict can emerge, real truths can be spoken. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stand up, speak your truth, and walk away with your dignity intact. That's exactly what Cher did on that unforgettable night on the Megyn Kelly show. She refused to be minimized, refused to be silenced, and refused to play along with a host who wanted to use her for controversy. As she walked off that stage, she left behind a studio full of shocked people, a host scrambling to regain control, and a moment that would be talked about for years to come. It was messy, it was uncomfortable, and it was absolutely real. And in a world of carefully scripted television, that realness was exactly what made it so powerful. The confrontation had started with a seemingly innocent question about politics and social media, but it quickly revealed something deeper, a fundamental disconnect between two women who saw the world in completely different ways. Megyn saw Cher's activism as performative, as an attention-seeking behavior from someone out of touch with reality. Cher saw Megyn's dismissiveness as a symptom of privilege, a refusal to acknowledge the very real struggles of marginalized people. Neither woman was willing to back down. Neither woman was willing to pretend. And so it escalated, moment by moment, word by word, until it reached its inevitable conclusion. Cher walking off the stage, leaving Megyn behind to face the consequences of her actions. In the end, it wasn't really about politics at all. It was about respect. It was about listening. It was about recognizing that other people's experiences and concerns are valid, even if they're different from your own. And Megyn had failed that test spectacularly. Cher had given her multiple opportunities to course correct, to acknowledge her concerns, to have a real conversation. But Megyn had doubled down each time, getting more defensive, more dismissive, more hostile. She had backed herself into a corner, and by the time she realized it, it was too late. The audience had seen it all unfold in real time. They had watched as a simple interview turned into something much more significant. They had witnessed a clash of worldviews, a battle of wills, and ultimately, one woman's refusal to be disrespected on national television. And when Cher walked off that stage, she didn't just walk away from Megyn Kelly. She walked away from a system that tries to control celebrities, that tries to put them in boxes, that tries to silence them when they speak out about things that matter. She rejected that system and did it on her own terms. That's what made the moment so powerful. That's what made it resonate with so many people. Because everyone has been in a situation where they felt disrespected, where they felt like they weren't being heard, where they felt like they had to choose between their dignity and keeping the peace. And Cher showed them what it looks like to choose dignity every single time. As the car carried her away from the studio that night, Cher felt no regret. She had done what needed to be done. She had stood her ground. She had spoken her truth, and she had walked away when it became clear that staying would mean compromising her values. That's the real story of what happened on the Megyn Kelly Show. Not just a confrontation between a host and a guest, but a statement about standing up for what you believe in, even when it's difficult, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it means walking away from something.